It seems as though autism in the United States is one of the fastest rising epidemics in American children. Can you tell us what is autism exactly and why is it on the rise?
Autism is a childhood neuropsychiatric disorder that the symptoms are there's impairment in communication and social interaction, often associated with repetitive behaviors as well. It has been increasing quite rapidly in the United States and as in elsewhere. The data I'm using is from California. There has been a 637% increase over the past 40 years. So a similar rate of increase has been in other areas in the States.
What do you think explains a 637% increase?
Well, my work has been focusing on the social side of this increase in autism. My major thesis is about how social interaction affected rapid increase. To be more specific, it is first it start from autism nowadays. The conception about autism is compared to other childhood psychiatric disorder is not so stigmatizing. And there's a lot of resources flowing into the families affected by autism. So it's in the interest of the parents to secure, if you may, an autism diagnosis so that they can give the children the best opportunities and the best services that are available. But in order for parents to learn about that, they will have to know about the resources. They have to find the right diagnosticians and things like that. So my argument is that people gradually learned how to get these resources, know about autism, and get the diagnosticians through a social network, through gradually learning from their peers.
So autism isn't spreading like a germ necessarily, but it's knowledge about autism as a category, as a classification, as a diagnosis, and the kind of benefits that go along with that is spreading through social networks.
I believe so. Like autism, I don't believe that you can spread it like a germ, and it's not through person-to-person contact like a virus. But I think that it's a spreading of the knowledge and about it that is underlying at least part of the epidemic.
So you're suggesting that it's kind of like fashion, that people are kind of copying other people, and or is there something like some people have said that vaccines or the mercury in vaccines or the vaccines themselves or the increase in heavy metals in our body masses and in our environment that are also associated with increasing childhood cancer rates. Is there something biophysical that's causing this rise, or is it just a social phenomenon?
The answer is both. Is that it is both a social phenomenon and there may be something biological going on. But so it is not so much like fashion, I would pick, but in some way it is. It will be more like the spreading of a new technology. People learn about certain ways of doing things by recognition of the symptoms. So people adopting it to help the children. But is there anything biological, physiological going on? The problem is autism, there's no biomarkers, meaning there's no test that definitively can say that this child has autism or this child doesn't. The diagnosis rely on the recognition of symptoms, which has certain subjective elements in it. So is there anything really biological going on, like gene and environment interaction, or the vaccine theory, like the vaccine causing autism? We cannot know because there's no way of really measuring the causal relationship between certain proposed risk factors, biological risk factors, and the diagnosis itself. So, like, it is actually everyone guess still out there whether anything physical or biological is going on with autism.
Well, then, if you can't identify, a direct environmental or physical or biological cause in the rise, how do you rule that out, or how do you identify causally a social effect?
There are multiple sources of evidence. For example, we have found that living closer to a family with a child with autism would increase the chance that your child will be diagnosed with autism subsequently.
How, for example, do you know that that's not because they're both living near some autism-causing chemical spill or something like that?
That's a good counter-argument. We can test whether that relationship, like living near a child with autism, increase your own chance, can be explained by toxins by looking at whether social boundaries, for instance, school district boundaries, if the mechanism is toxins, the effect shouldn't should cross school boundaries, because those are social artifacts. The toxins would not observe the boundary that human drawn, but we don't see that in our data. If the child with autism is from another school district, your chance of having autism is not affected by that. Okay, to guess.
And you also talk about that there's been a shift from a diagnosis of mental retardation to autism. Could you explain that?
Right. Yes. Mental retardation and autism, some of the symptoms are quite similar, at least behaviorally. Such as like, for example, a child with autism will have trouble at school, and then they may have difficulties in learning. It will be the same as a child suffer from mental retardation, and the repetitive behavior or just difficult behavior are also shared by both of this kind with children, both of the children who suffer from both conditions. So there's a diagnostic substitution going on, which means like children who used to be diagnosed as mental retardation would be diagnosed with autism instead. Our evidence showed that about 24% of the new increase in autism may be from the diagnostic substitution pathway.